I'm Mike Nowicki, and today we're going to be talking about tertiary dwelling units in London, Ontario. Joining me is my friend James Fernandez. He's actually a full-time mechanical engineer here in London and a part-time real estate investor. When I say part-time real estate investor, I don't mean like your average part-time real estate investor. I mean, this guy's a freak of nature. He has literally been able to get just under 30 units, or just under 50 units, my bad, in the last year and a half. And a fun fact about him is that he actually bought his first rental property from me when I first started wholesaling. So that's kind of how we've been able to build our relationship. And I'm excited for him to share with you the information about the tertiary dwelling units here in London, Ontario. It's a new bylaw that just came out in January 2021. But before we get too far into it, I just want to point out I do have a little bonsai tree here, and throughout my videos on the channel, we're going to watch this thing grow back to life. So I got this thing as a gift from Matt McKeever, my mentor, also famous YouTuber. He's got about 70,000 subscribers right now, so check his channel out. But yes, he gave me this bonsai tree. There's a lot of meaning behind it, but from moving it from his house to my house and having different lighting and stuff like that, it's kind of lost a lot of leaves, and I've had to trim down a few of the branches and stuff like that. Long story short, it needs a little bit of love. So if you guys can show your love and support for the little bonsai tree, give this video a like and subscribe, and watch this thing grow in my next videos to come. Thanks, guys. So here's James Fernandez, everyone. Can you introduce yourself?
Hey, how's it going? My name's James. I've known Mike for, I guess, just over a year now, and we worked together on a couple of deals here and there. Yeah, I've been real estate investing for, I guess, just over a year or so.
Nice.
Building knowledge just beyond that, and trying to learn as much as I can and keep going.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you joining me on the channel today. I'm really excited about our conversation we're going to have today because London, Ontario came out with a new bylaw for tertiary dwelling units. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. So
you seem to know a little bit about that. So I figured this would be a great opportunity for people to learn from someone that just knows their stuff in London.
Yeah, so this stuff is like very specific to London because it's a London bylaw. So
yep.
People that are watching this from out of town, maybe you can learn some of the nuances that you can look out for in your own towns.
Okay.
But what we're talking about specifically applies to London today. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the difference between a secondary dwelling and a tertiary dwelling?
So yeah, I guess I'll start with the secondary dwelling unit difference between that and a duplex. I'll start there because it's critical. The secondary dwelling unit, you're allowed to have up to 40% of the total floor area allotted to that secondary dwelling unit, versus in a duplex, you can have up to 50%. A duplex, you have to have multiple parking spots, whereas in a secondary dwelling, you don't. There's a few other differences as well, but those are kind of the key ones. This becomes more important in a minute, but let's move on to tertiary dwelling unit now.
So well, I have a quick question, I guess, about
sure.
the duplex thing. So does having 2 meters make a difference, or does that really matter?
Yeah, so in a duplex, a legal duplex, you would most times need dedicated meters, sometimes dedicated furnaces, that type of thing.
Okay.
Like it starts to become a little bit more intensive rather than a secondary dwelling unit where you're kind of just converting a part of your house into a place that people can live with its own kitchen and bathroom. So it does become more intense, and that's why like I personally recommend converting to secondary dwelling unit, not duplex, because it's easier and then you get the same rental license. So
sure. Okay. I like that. James, I think you're good at knowing those little tips and tricks. So it's cool that you've been able to learn that, because you get so like into the things that you're doing. Like I remember seeing one of your renovations that you did, and just went really hard on that. And I just love to see how much passion you have for the details of things. I love to see that.
I've learned to pull back a little bit on that, because it does, like, with the increased time that it takes for the details, you add cost, right? So you have to find your balance, and I'm still working on that. But
so tell me, what is the difference between the secondary and tertiary unit then?
So the secondary dwelling unit, it could be just a part, like let's just say you have a bungalow. Your upstairs is your main unit. Let's just say it's a 2 or 3 bed. Your downstairs is maybe a 1 bed basement apartment, bathroom, kitchen type of thing. That would be a really good example of a secondary dwelling unit. Let's just say now you also have a garage on the property. and you convert that garage into a living space with a kitchen and bathroom, and people can live there now. And that would be a tertiary dwelling unit. So now you have your upstairs, 2-bed, 3-bed, whatever, your basement apartment that you just made into a secondary dwelling unit. And your tertiary dwelling unit would be the third, I guess, obviously tertiary, third unit on the property that you could convert as well.
Can it be like a shed or anything? Or
well, yeah, there's minimum floor areas and stuff like that you have to meet.
Does it have to have proper foundation, stuff like that, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
So what's it cost to build one of these?
So from
scratch, do you have to build? You can use existing or build, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's where I was talking about, like converting a garage. So I did a garage conversion like that. It was about $18,000.
18,000 to convert a garage, and you have
a garage,
a kitchen, a bathroom.
Yeah, it's a bachelor.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I have a Murphy bed in there, and
the Murphy beds are sweet, eh?
The couch, the TV, coffee table, like a kitchen, fridge, full fridge, and everything. Like everything fits in there. It's just a bachelor. But that's actually on Airbnb and pulling in about $1,500 a month.
So $1,500 in addition to what you're pulling in on that property.
That's right.
That's sweet. So basically the 18 grand, like that's a great return on that. It's a no-brainer at that point, right?
It is, yeah. And I don't know, like you can build, they're called auxiliary dwelling units. I know it's starting to get a little complicated with all the dwelling unit nonsense, but auxiliary dwelling unit is essentially like a tiny home that you throw out on a property.
Okay.
Like kind of in the backyard. If you have a big backyard, you build an auxiliary dwelling unit. Actually, Jake and Paula from Tartan Developments have a really, really good business model and plan and video on YouTube talking about that specifically. So I won't even get into it, but
yeah, maybe you can drop me the link and I'll put in the description.
Sounds good.
Nice.
But like couple of the main rules I just wanted to talk about real quick. It's kind of fucked up in London. So you can have a primary dwelling unit, like your house, whatever, that you convert into a secondary dwelling unit. That's what we're talking about, like the basement conversion type of thing. Pretty popular these days. And then from there, you have a primary, you have a secondary, you can add a tertiary. But if you have a duplex, so almost the same thing. Like let's just say it's upstairs.
I feel like I know where you're going with this.
You cannot add a tertiary dwelling unit.
That's so
I don't know why London has done it like this. Because it's almost the same thing, but you cannot add a tertiary dwelling unit if you have a duplex, only if you have a secondary dwelling unit. So
and there's no like explanation to why that is. Like
it's
is
just
there anything?
I think they just missed it in the bylaw.
Okay, if anyone in the comments can have a good answer and explanation to why you can have a secondary dwelling with a tertiary dwelling, but not have a duplex with a tertiary dwelling, please drop it in the comments because I would be very, very interested to see why the hell London, Ontario did not allow that.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple of pretty experienced investors in the field, and a couple of the other things that they noted were very odd. Is that, I was talking to you about the 40% sort of space. So if your whole house is, I don't know, 1,000 square feet, I don't know, only 400 square feet can be allotted to that secondary dwelling unit.
Yep.
But what they've done now also is that, okay, now you have your primary dwelling unit, 1,000 square feet, and you want to add a secondary and tertiary unit, you're still only allowed 40%.
Okay.
So I need to figure out though, if that's including like the new space. So like this,
like, is it 40%? So like you can't do like, if it was 1,000, you could have 400 square feet as your secondary and then 400 square feet as your tertiary. Is that what you're saying?
No, it would now be like a 2 and 2 type of thing, which is straight trash. So if it was only 1,000 square feet,
you'd have a little Japanese little condo in there, right?
Yeah. So I need to figure out, and this is my ignorance here. I need to figure out if now that square footage has increased, and then you take a percentage of that increased like living area, because now you have like, I don't know, living space around the primary unit as well. But
yeah, maybe this could be a way for anyone watching, reach out to James, and this will be his he may have an answer for you by the time you reach out.
Absolutely, yeah. The other thing that's kind of shitty there is it's a 5-bedroom maximum. So
total of the first, second, and third.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. But this could be cool for like those small little bungalows that have like 2 bedrooms upstairs, 2 bedroom, 1 or 2 bedrooms downstairs, and then you're good. Like that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you're not having like
So
a freaking like one lot in the center of London, like in a neighborhood, and then have like 40 people
45
living there,
bedrooms.
like
Yeah.
3 people in each bedroom. They're all like, come on, like that's actually a good thing. I believe I wouldn't want to live in a neighborhood full of like these really compact
Yeah.
dwellings.
So like my, I guess not way around it, but the only way I could make it fit in general in that garage was just have that bachelor unit.
Have it a
So
bachelor, yeah,
it
nice.
doesn't even have a bedroom, so I don't know if it counts towards the bedroom allotment in general.
Well, like I don't know. I guess not, right?
Yeah. And then
Um,
other
so
things like you can get like minor variances and stuff for some of the stuff, but you're pretty much going to need like a site plan approval unless you have an existing structure like a garage.
yeah, and like getting into the permits and stuff like that is a conversation for another time. It's a pretty simple process, anyways, but
Hmm.
and it's pretty low cost. But
Yeah, it can be.
is there any major issues you can run into while doing a tertiary unit?
Yeah, like so for example, let's just focus on garage conversion first because that's likely
Okay.
what's going to be what most people do. They just
Yep.
have
A
like a
detached
detached
garage.
garage. Yeah.
Yeah. Could you do it
They
in an
just,
attached garage?
you could, yeah.
Technically, right?
You absolutely could, yeah. But I'm just saying like in a garage in general, like that's let's just focus on that for a sec because we have kind of limited time anyway.
Yep, for sure.
Um the main issues that you're going to need to address are the plumbing and the electrical.
Okay.
Everything else is pretty straightforward, but typically your garage is going to be at the lowest point of your house in general, other than
Hmm.
the basement, right? So you're going to need to go from your basement to the garage to address plumbing because water needs to flow downhill.
True.
So that's going to be the hardest part. And if you can't figure out how to drain that toilet water and shower water and kitchen water, you're over, right? And maybe
So
you
are you
spend like
you're
thousands
looking
of
at like
dollars.
you're looking at a trench going from the unit to the stack in the basement, right?
That's right, yeah. So
And okay, that's
that
not
could be
too
quite
bad.
expensive, but like for in my case, it was an
Hmm.
attached garage that I did it
Hmm.
in, and the stack was on the other side of the wall. So I had to drill through, it was like
Oh
10 inches
shoot.
of brick
Yeah. Oh.
in this old ass house. Yeah. And then go through there to the
I always
stack.
I always feel like a badass when I have a high powered drill and I'm just going through a
You're
concrete
just
wall.
shaking. What's
Yeah,
that?
like
What's that one video that I can't remember the video, but it's like all these sweaty girls using power tools.
oh yeah. Let's get that in the link below.
Yeah.
Nice. So any other big issues that you could run into perhaps?
Yeah, so if your panel is undersized, then you're not going to be able to run like a washer, dryer,
You can run a
stove.
secondary panel though, right?
That's right. So that's going to be an additional
Couple
cost to
thousand
think of
bucks.
potentially. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's just
Not
something
too
else
bad.
that people might miss and forget
Yep.
that like, oh yeah, this new stove takes another 30 amps and maybe I don't have room in this panel or whatever else. So,
And
and if
now that
you're,
like because with the secondary dwelling you don't exactly need an additional parking space, but now
yeah,
that you have a secondary and tertiary, do you require at least one extra or you can still
I didn't,
stick
I
to
didn't
that?
see anything, I didn't see anything about
Not
additional
bad.
parking requirements, which is
Because in
kind
London
of good, but
sometimes
kind of
that could
shit,
come up
right?
as an issue, right? Parking.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And so like it is good to see that that doesn't affect this strategy. And like
Yeah.
this is in my opinion a great strategy for anyone that has current portfolio in London that wants to add additional cash flow, because sometimes when you have like a portfolio there I can almost guarantee you'll have an opportunity to add this tertiary. And
Hell yeah.
if you're building it, that's even better, because like if you have the square footage in your on your property, like options are endless at that point,
Hell
right?
yeah. So actually the first deal I ever did was a secondary dwelling unit conversion in a bungalow. And
Mhm.
at the time, like this wasn't that long ago. It's January of last year, basically,
Mhm.
February. Um, it was 40 grand to do the basement up.
Mhm.
And then the home refied for $120,000 more after all expenses.
Yeah.
So
So
that's basically how I got started, is using that money as seed
and
money.
what now that you brought up refi, like uh do these tertiary units have a strong influence
Hell
on the
yeah.
refinance in a
Yeah.
positive
So
way, I'm assuming?
hell yeah. So like
Awesome.
auxiliary dwelling units in general are like additional living spaces, like legal duplexes or legal secondary dwellings. You're adding like very conservatively like $50,000 to the
Okay.
value of the property, very
So-
conservatively.
So like you spent 18, you're adding 50K to your refi. I don't see a world where this doesn't make sense.
No, me neither, man. The only things that you'd also have to think of, and it's not a bad thing, but the other thing you have to think of is now your increased cash flow on the property also means that your bank is potentially, if they're lending you on a commercial mortgage, lending you much more because your NOI is super, super high in comparison to what it was.
Love that. That's pretty sweet, James. That pretty much wraps up kind of any questions that I have for you about the tertiary dwelling bylaw in London. If there's any questions, I feel free for anyone that's watching to drop them in the comments below, and James and I will diligently watch those comments and answer any questions that come up.
You bet.
Anything, anywhere, like where can people find you, James, if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, Instagram's probably the best way. It's just james.ferns.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll like throw it in there and in the description or so. But that's probably the best place. Just shoot me a message and I'll get back to you.
Amazing. Thanks for joining us today,
problem, man.
James. This was a pleasure. Have a good one, man. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. If you can, feel free to like and subscribe to the video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.